Donald Trump's lead in the polls continues to increase following the Paris attacks a few weeks ago. The most recent One America News poll released today has Donald Trump leading at 37%, a commanding lead. Joining me now is Donald Trump's new press secretary and Tea Party activist, Katrina Pearson. Katrina, thanks for being here tonight.
Oh, it's great to be with you, Liz. Thank you.
Now, lately in the media, there's been a huge hullabaloo about comments Trump made about supporting the implementation of a database for Muslims here in the United States. First, the media was up in arms that Mr. Trump would make a remark like that. Then there were reports that he didn't even actually say it. Could you clarify for us now, was Mr. Trump talking about supporting a database for all Muslims in the U.S. or just for Syrian refugees?
You know, this has been such an interesting time in our political movement where you have Republicans and Democrats piling on the Republican frontrunner for president. No, Donald Trump never said that he would support an American Muslim database. That is absurd, and it's not even legal, Liz. What had happened is there was a reporter who was on a rope line asking random questions, and he was answering those questions. However, the video this reporter used was cut and spliced, and NBC and CNN ran away with it, making it look like that's what he said, when in fact he did not. He has always been open to supporting not even a database, more of a watch list of the refugees that are coming in, because we have had incidents with refugees causing attacks here in the United States, and it is that simple.
Right, and that's completely different, and I appreciate the clarification. Now, Mr. Trump also mentioned the surveillance of Muslim mosques in order to identify terror plots while they're in the making, or to surveil individuals associated with terrorists. Now, that's a pretty blanket statement as well, and critics would say that that's too big brother, or that's a violation of religious liberty and privacy. Is Mr. Trump's plan more detailed than general surveillance, or is that blanket statement sound like what it is?
Well, I mean, this is the thing. They keep saying we don't have specifics from Mr. Trump, when Mr. Trump is the only specific person that's been out there with all of his policies. And yes, we absolutely should obtain a warrant and monitor these hostile mosques. There's over 2,100 mosques in this country, and the Clarion Project has put a map up of where there are at least 80 radicalized mosques. We're talking about not just people suspected of doing acts, but mosques that have actually generated full-blown terrorist attacks like the Boston bombers that was founded by a radical Islamist who is doing prison time for planning a terrorist attack, as well as one of their board members. That's a mosque that should be watched.
So this isn't general surveillance of people just because they practice the Muslim religion, because they're active in the Islamic faith. This would be warrants, like you said, based off of information that there are individuals associated with terrorist activities, whether it's planning them themselves or whether it is the encouragement or harboring of these individuals. Is that correct?
That, and including finance. There's some mosques in this country that are financed by terrorists outside of the country. Those mosques should absolutely be watched. And for anyone to say that we shouldn't watch those mosques should be a very dangerous person for this country to run.
Now, the media also went after Mr. Trump after he said he heard thousands of people cheering in New Jersey after the terrorist attacks on 9/11. The media said Mr. Trump fabricated that story. Did he fabricate it, or was it accurate?
It was accurate to the sense that it did happen. The question now, by the way, the AP and the Washington Post both had articles back then talking about people that were detained for celebrating, which now the Washington Post came back and said, well, I don't really remember how I got the information, so maybe it didn't happen. So now you have the Washington Post walking back their own intelligence just to say it didn't happen. But what's happened since then, several people in New Jersey have cried out and said, I saw it, I witnessed it. And now the media is saying, well, if it did happen, it definitely didn't happen on that grand scale. But the bigger question, what I've been posing to people, is why is there a concerted effort by the media in this country to suppress radical Muslims in this country? That's the biggest question here.
Now, do you expect an apology for Mr. Trump based off of the fact that the media essentially called him a liar and then they were the ones incorrect?
Well, they absolutely should apologize. Consider how the Washington Post article refuted their own statement. But they're not going to apologize because they're on a mission. The mission here is for the left, the media, and the GOP establishment to take down Mr. Trump, and he's not going to back down.